Where'd you go, Jeff?
I went to Tokyo, Bangkok, and Sapporo, but it's not Emacs related. I did meet a C++ guy in Bangkok though, so that was cool.
That works. That works. I trust you had a great time.
Fantastic, thank you. Oh, relevant. I did run a Birds of a Feather session at CPPCon on Emacs, and it was very well attended. 51 people. So there's love out there. We should do more of these things at conferences.
It's not a bad idea. Speaking of which,
I'm sorry?
speaking of which, you wanted to talk about the Emacs conference next year?
Oh, right. Okay. Thanks. Good point. And unfortunately, I don't know how we're gonna show my slides or anything like that. But there's a conversation on Reddit about a possible Emacs conference next year, co-located with Strangeloop, or maybe like right before Strangeloop or right after Strangeloop, because there's a lot of people there interested in functional programming and in Lisp. Harry is nodding sagely on the other side of the table, so he's excited. So anyway, Ag Ibrahimov, who's iLemming on Twitter, is I think at this point coordinating it. And there's a Reddit group, which unfortunately I can't show the URL for, but if you're excited about this like I am, get involved. It's our Emacs, I guess. I think so. Yeah, it's about 3 weeks old. The post, I would say. Yeah.
If you have a link to your slides, then we can do it from the laptop. You have a link to your slides?
A link to my slides? Not yet.
Quickly install Zoom. It's really easy. It has a Linux.
On my Linux laptop, really? Okay. With an X. X. Okay, good to know. I'll do that while we're doing other things. How about that?
Also, maybe posting the link to the Reddit thread on the Meetup group.
Oh yes, good point. On the Meetup group, that's a great idea. Okay.
Just post your slides on that Meetup. Whatever you have.
Yeah, I should just do that. Okay, yeah, I'll put some org mode slides up on GitHub and put a link in the Meetup group. Hey, we get 2 more people joining us.
I found the thread on Reddit. I can share it on the.
Oh, great, thank you.
Yes. Yes, guest.
Strangeloop would be a great venue. I think RacketCon is co-located there now too.
I'm so clear. It's not the first like co-located thing at Strangeloop, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yay.
Should be a good contingent of Lispers there.
So
Howard, how many people do you have over there?
we've got 3 in this room. One's running a little late. We got a couple on the bridge.
All right.
So yes, do you think this is going to be? I haven't seen.
Oh, wait. He's giving out the wrong one.
I'm giving out the wrong one. No, this is fine. This is fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Howard. What was that?
I was just kind of wondering a little bit more about the co-location at Strangeloop. Is this like before the conference, after the conference, or during the conference? Do you know any details like that?
I believe the idea is either before or after.
Okay.
In order to commit, we have to have a little information for them, like a list of speakers and some evidence that we've done a little bit of homework and we're actually going to have a conference.
Okay. All right. Are we still there? We are still there. Good. Okay. Had to change things around. We had someone who's starting. So, so shall we do some lightning talks?
Sure, go for it.
Who's got something to start us off?
Harry. Always.
I didn't even bring my laptop this time.
I guess that's one way of getting out of it, huh?
Wi-Fi here, right? Oh yeah, you just gave it to yourself.
Yeah.
Anyone else have one prepared?
Good. How are you?
Technically, I had some slides. I could just re-present them. That should be fine.
Okay, I guess I could volunteer here if that's if people want.
That sounds great.
Okay, I'm going to start off. First off, I'm going to basically talk about I'm using Xah's, Xah who just walked into the room, his fly keys, and I'm going to talk for just a minute about my journey to doing that, and then we'll see if I can present my screen. It actually shows up, and there is zero preparation here, so this is what it is. So my Emacs, pedigree, been using it since the TECO days. Probably 79 was the first time I touched it. So my left pinky has been, parked hard left of A for nigh on 40 years now. A couple years ago, I started having, the carpal tunnel finger, the Emacs, the finger didn't want to be parked there anymore. So I moved over to the Kinesis Advantage keyboard. Took a couple, weeks, month or two to actually learn to type again. Then once I was over that, I caught wind of Xah's fly keys thing, and decided that, learning to type again, once in a year was not enough. So I decided to switch over to that. And let me just see if I can present my screen. Let's see, where is that? At the bottom it should be. I am looking for the present screen thing.
It's called share.
Yeah, share. Oh, the big green thing right at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, so let's just see. Desktop 1. Let's do this.
It's working.
Okay, is anybody seeing Emacs?
You got it. Oh, we're not seeing Emacs yet. We're just seeing your browser.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll move this over here then. How about that?
There we go.
Okay. So anyhow, if anybody is not familiar, Xah is here, and Xah will, Xah is the man. He will, he will correct me, fill me in, say any of that. So if anybody's not seen fly keys, think of it basically as a modal version for Emacs. So just like VI, you're going into command mode or out of command mode, yeah. And so if I let's see, where am I going? We'll go to it's not going to be. All right, this is not working well. All right, I'm going to abort on this one because I need to be a little better prepared for this. But suffice it to say, I'm doing Emacs without a control key for the most part, without an escape key for the most part. Minimal motions on the key. But you do have to fundamentally just wrap your mind around the mode that you're either editing text, inputting text, or you're in command mode. And I would recommend people trying it. Let me see if I can get myself a little set up, and I may try it a little bit later.
Okay, no, I've always been kind of intrigued.
Yeah, no, it's worth the time, and Xah's there and can probably do much better than I can. I may try later once I get set up here.
Well, I guess I can fill in the gap since we wanted to kind of alternate. Yesterday, somebody had asked a question about how to use EWW, and the conversation kind of got going on Reddit, and I mentioned that you could actually kind of clean it up a little bit. So what I noticed here, and I'm now using eww as my first browser. I won't say primary, but I use it first. And then if it doesn't render, then I kick the URL over to Firefox or something. So let me see if I can't share my desktop then. And let's do the whole desktop. Then will be a little easier. So like if I do a Google search, this is what you get. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but what I noticed is there's a function called eww-readable. And if you run that, it's kind of like the reader mode on Firefox. It just kind of trims off that header and whatnot and gives you exactly what you want. So I thought, okay, this is pretty good. This is readable. This is pretty good. Some other ones like, let's go up to this Slack Overflow. So here I'm opening up Slack Overflow, and in this case, if you scroll down a little bit, you finally get to the good stuff. Stack Overflow, Reddit, and some other ones, they kind of fill in a little bit, you know, it's like most of the details are here, but then there's a lot of gunk in the way. The reader mode doesn't quite work on this just because it only gives you the initial question, not all the comments, which is kind of half the problem. So what I thought I'd do is tie a hook to the end. So once it's rendered, I could then write some function to go through and clean it up. That sounds like a fun idea. So let me load up another Emacs here so you can kind of see this going on. I have no idea where this green line is coming from. So this is the function that I wrote. So let me just start the fun here. So basically, there is this eww after render hook that I just hook up a function to. So that after anything is put together, once it's rendered, it runs my function. So this is the function that I'm rendering. It's pretty simple. I'm grabbing the current URL and I'm just parsing it out. And then that means I can call URL host to pull the host out. And then I can split it up on dots. And then I can kind of get the name of the site. So then I can do something like this, equal site. So if I'm looking at Google, for instance, I can just call the readable automatically, and then I don't even have to hit that key. But some of the other ones, like for Stack Overflow, I could have an extra function that runs that kind of cleans things up. And so this is the function that I use for cleaning up. It's pretty simple. The step one is turning on read-only mode off so that I can actually edit it. I've got a little map here that's just going through a bunch of regular expressions and calling flush lines, because I just noticed there were a lot of lines that were just kind of cluttering things up that work pretty well on a browser when you're trying to actually interact with it. But if all you're trying to do is just read, they're kind of in the way. And then after that, I noticed that there was a phrase, ask question, that happened to be right underneath the title. So I search forward to that, back up to the title, and then just recenter top to bottom with the 0 to put it at the top, and there you go. So
You're muted, Howard.
thanks, I didn't even notice. All right, so let me, Emacs, Lisp, regular expressions, since this is what I type in all the time. And there you go. So there's the Google search right off the bat. It just shows you what you want to see. And if I type, let's go to this Stack Yeah. So here's Stack Overflow, and there you go. So cursor's on the title. It's cleaned up a lot of things. Granted, there are a few extra things here and there, but this was just an experiment of something that I was writing last night. So my, I guess my point into this is, I think it could have a little fun. There might be some legs on this little project. I might keep cleaning things up. Certainly not maintainable. Any questions?
We're all like nodding our heads no here. No question.
Actually, I can ask one question. Can you go back to the
Whoops. I just happened to hit the magic stop button. Go back to the code.
Yeah, I mean, I have a meta question. You have relative line numbering. I just wanted to ask which package was that?
It's always something else. Yeah, it always is when we're at a conference. I'm always looking at the minor modes that people have enabled more than what they're saying. Yeah, it's a bad yeah, so it's actually a combination, and it's just the default that came with SpaceMax. I was doing the same sort of thing before, and so I'm actually not exactly sure what packages SpaceMax is using. Do you know, Logan, for the relative line numbering?
Oh, to display on your current mode?
Uh-huh.
I do not know. That would be hard to find out, though.
Yeah.
You have to turn it on. I don't think that's on by default.
Oh.
Are you in normal mode right now?
Yeah.
You can also set it up so that when you change modes, it toggles to absolute.
Oh, well, there's a little key for that.
Like if you,
but yeah,
if
this
you went into
relative
insert
line,
mode.
they've renamed it, because it says it's relative line numbers.
Yeah.
But I think it's, yeah. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Like I say, I had it set up before and I liked it so much and I don't know. So I haven't even looked at it since it just came with SpaceMax. My experiment with SpaceMax is still continuing.
How do you like it so far?
It's been 9 months.
Okay.
Had a baby. I was about to say, ready to deliver.
Another minor question.
Yeah, it's actually working out pretty well.
Cheers, another.
Still kind of surprised though.
Yeah. The plus is on the right. Is that Git Gutter or something else?
Yes. Yeah. It's just the Git fringe.
Or can you repeat the URL for the meeting ID for?
I sent it to you on email.
You sent it to me in email.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry you had to hear that.
No, just put it on Twitter.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
You ready?
Yeah, I guess.
I talked Logan into that's a nice segue because Logan he's got the evil.
You got the evil mode. All right, there you go.
Are you logged into the Zoom too?
I am.
Okay, great. Now,
I may have to make my.
now, tell you what, I'll mute myself.
Better.
Let's do that. I'll just move this.
Are you still unmuted?
I am unmuted,
Okay.
So go for it.
Excellent. All right, can everybody see my Emacs, my notes I'm taking last minute? All right, excellent. All right, I'm Logan Barnett. My journey into Emacs was because I was looking for a really good Vim. Basically, somebody turned me on to SpaceMax, which I've always equated to being like a distribution for Emacs, and it comes with all the evil stuff already set up, and I've never looked back. And I imagine there's a lot of you who aren't very familiar with Vim bindings, or if you are, you probably know just about as much to like insert a line and then get the hell out, like write and quit. Is that fair to say?
Colon W bang, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
About as much as I know.
Write and get out. And
Some of us started with VI and then long before.
got it. The thing that really sold me on Vim long ago was that I learned that like all of the key bindings were composable, or a good deal of them were. And so key bindings in Vim, once you've learned them, you can start to intuit new ones. Once you've kind of mastered it a bit. I'll give kind of a demo here. So the really basic, there's motions, which is what moves your cursor around. So I'm in what's called normal mode right now. This is normally where you're at, like when you start the editor. In Emacs for evil mode, it's the same thing. This little orange cursor, I think in Spacemacs is the default. So I changed it to blue. That usually means I'm now using Emacs bindings. So if I type, like letters will actually show up. Yeah, and Vim doesn't do that. In Vim's normal mode, this is where all my commands flow from, and I want to usually spend as much time in here as I can. Basic motions that move me around is like H, J, K, L, which are kind of like arrow keys. So H moves me to the left, J moves me down, K moves me up, and L moves me to the right. These are like the kind of the crutch motions. Once you start to get better with it, you can use a lot more advanced ones. Let's see. So some more basic ones is like E, or not E, F. So F will jump forward to the next character that I type afterwards. So if I do F and then E, it'll jump me to the next E key, which is E character, which is on that word. If I went to C, it would go to this one here. There's also T, which I have always remembered as until, which goes to the character before. So if I'm looking at the N at the end of this word and I want to go to the O, I can use T and then N. And it's hard looking at that screen. I should look at this one.
Yeah, you should.
It's slow. Yeah.
Yes.
Agonizing. Vim also has the concept of text objects. So it knows word boundaries. I can jump to the beginning and end of words. And this can help me like get around really fast. It usually, so like I'm using E and B for this one. I have them all written down and I can share them with the group. If special characters like this, it will not hop over. If I use the shift versions of those, like capital E and capital B, those go to a different kind of text object, different kind of word, so it hops over those. That can be helpful to know those. So the composition, this is where it gets kind of fun for me, is say for instance, D deletes in Vim, but pushing D on its own doesn't do anything. It waits for you to give it a motion. So if I do D and then use the E I talked about, it'll remove the rest of this word up to the parentheses because that's the end of the word boundary. And that also works with the B. So if I go here and I do D, B, it deletes all the way at the beginning of the word. I left a character there. I don't know why. Let's see. Some other ones are like I can be in the middle of a word and there's kind of like a conjunction operator that says like give me everything inside of this text object. So I could delete everything in this word with like DIW. They use W for the word. Yeah. And the composition can get kind of crazy. So if I want to like delete like the next 3 words, I could do D3W for that. And let me go over a couple more. Let's see. There's line-based things. I can delete the current line I'm on just with, I can delete 2 lines. This is where the relative line number, if you're using that, it comes really in handy. So
Yeah,
if I
that's
do,
why I have it on.
if I do D and then 2 and then D again, that will delete 2 lines relative to where I'm at. I can give it negative numbers to go backwards. I can give it a line number and then GG. So like if I want to delete to line 5 on this one, I can do D5 and then GG, and that will delete all of those. Let's see, what else? Yeah, so I don't know. It's the really beautiful thing is once you start learning how motions work and how text objects work and all of that stuff, learning a new motion or text object just expands your plethora of things you can do exponentially. So, yeah. Are there any questions so far? I'm not going to run through that fast.
Why is the screen sometimes black? I mean, is that the state when the lines become black?
Lines become black.
Oh, like when you deleted 3 lines and then you did an undo, those 3 lines were black.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's just showing me, that's just me doing an undo. I guess it's showing me what I put back in the buffer. The disadvantage of jumping into Emacs with Spacemacs right from the start is I don't know where all of the packages came from.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it does. So, so how do you expand it? Like with, like today, somebody was complaining about there's some package in Vim that allows you to hit the semicolon to do something more than just repeat the motion.
The leader
so things
key
like
stuff.
that, and then S for the surround stuff and the leader keys.
I don't know what the semicolon one is.
Okay, yeah, I don't know either.
That one's really helpful.
It seemed like
semicolon, if you folks are wondering, repeats the last motion that you did. So if I did do the if I did FE here, you'd go to that E. If I hit semicolon, it'll just repeat the same motion. So it'll go to the end of Dolore. I'm probably murdering my Latin there. And then EU.
I don't think it's really Latin.
It's not?
No.
I thought it was.
It's Pigeon Latin, sort of a mess.
What else? Yeah, the leader key. So the leader key is something that's usually what happens is it's like Vim people want to do more than just manipulate text all day. They want to actually like perform some actions and stuff, and the built-in stuff is only goes so far with that. So they'll cram everything under this like catch-all leader key, which sometimes is bound to I think single quote. It depends. Everybody uses a different one from what when I was doing Vim things. In Spacemacs, it's bound to the space key, which is pretty useless in Vim by itself. So in Emacs, or in Spacemacs at least, like I have which key set up. So if I hit space, it'll show me all the fun things I can do. Some of these are prefix keys. So I don't know if the color's coming out well, but anything that's got that plus and the blue in front of it is a prefix, meaning that if I go in there, I'll get more options. Let's see. So and these will do most anything. For example, like I can get to my email from here. I can do some fancy text manipulation from here, like joining text together. Get is one of my favorite ones. That you can get to maggot. I don't have anything in their source control right.
So go to B for your buffers.
Buffers, thank you. Yeah, I can kill a buffer, I can switch to a buffer, and go to the home buffer, copy old buffer to clipboard. That's kind of cool. Yeah. And I think this is usually preferred over like doing like the Control-C type thing, right?
Well, it's a meta X.
Yeah, and that's very important too. Is it's a very meta X type of a thing. There's nothing I can't get to from there that I couldn't do from meta X. It's a little bit more constrained and organized though, which is nice. And if I memorize them, like I know a lot of projectile things. So for me, space PP puts me into finding my various projects in projectile, space P, and trying to do muscle memory now. F lets me search for a file by its name. Those kinds of things. Go ahead.
Eval compatibility is integrated into various packages, in particular Helm.
Yeah, yeah, and this does use Helm for that. That's the way I have it set up. I think it can use IV too. I think it asks you when you start.
Yes.
Yes.
It does now.
Yeah. Most of these commands, like once you go into the leader mode, are not composable though. You're just running kind of Emacs functions at this point. So I couldn't say like open my email 3 times or something like that. It wouldn't even make sense.
That's true, but you can though.
Oh, you can?
I think so. Because I often do things like
opening your email 3 times.
Well, I don't open email 3 times. It all depends on
you
if
could
the
if
function
you could if you wanted.
accept a prefix though.
Yeah.
But,
any other questions?
Have you tried normal mode editing in Helm?
In Helm?
So, for example, when you're using Helm, you have this sort of fuzzy search capability. But if you want to escape and use VI keys within VI bindings in normal mode, say, to delete part of your search.
I would love to know how to do that. Do you know how to do that?
Oh, it's the one thing I've been trying to figure out. There's a package out there called Eval Collection that tries to integrate or provide better integration into various packages, but I haven't. It seems to only offer one level or one escaped action within Helm, and I'm trying to get like the full.
I am not as familiar with key bindings that exist within insert mode, but I have read that there are many, and they can be very powerful.
Pretty much mostly the Emacs ones.
No, I mean as
Well,
like a
not all
normal
of
Vim
them,
thing.
yeah.
But
Not
yeah,
all of them,
I do
but-
know the Vim bindings work here. So if I did like Control B, that would go back and that would go forward and all that. Yeah. So it helps to know some read line.
Do you know where those came from? Those key bindings?
No, I don't. Oh, I mean those ones there? Yeah, those are Emacs bindings, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Control B, Control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Emacs bindings.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
That's most of what I got. I
Thank
can
you.
publish my notes.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. All right, I will give the screen back. Pause share. Stop share. That's what I really want to do. Excellent. What do we got next?
George, I thought I saw that you said you were ready.
Yeah, I'll give it another shot here.
All right.
So let's go back to the share thing. Share that. All right. So are you? All right. Very good. So we'll start out. Xah's in the room, so he can jump in and correct anything. But this is the basic keyboard layout. This is for the QWERTY setup. The two things you need to sort of really be aware of are you're switching between sort of the insert mode and command mode all the time. I've the command mode. You can park it to the next left of where the control key usually is. With the Kinesis, I've actually moved it to the home key. It's actually very important to have both those keys, with minimal motion because you can do them all the time. But then when you're in command mode, you've got the normal, J, K, I, whatever command motion sorts of things, right? And then on the left hand, you've got, sort of insert, delete sort of things. But this is the layout, and this is up on Xah's site, so you can go and read this. The other thing I'll do here is I'll just pull in my my Emacs config. It is, of course, an org mode, Babel thing because why not? And so I'll just move around a little bit here. If you notice the cursor is in the block mode, that means I'm sort of in the command mode. Hit the F, right, goes into insert mode. So, I don't want that. So we'll go back to, command 5 is to delete, right? Expand this guy out. Search for me is on space. Actually, it's on, search for me is on N. So I'm going to look for Xah. Right, there he is. Right. You know, so basically, you know, you move around. You do all the editing things, you know, you want to do. And I guess the important thing for me is, right, you know,
there's a new version of Signal available.
Sorry.
Say again?
Yes.
All right, I'll just go ahead and hear that. I'll just go on. But the important thing for me, right, is that I'm not leaning on the command and I'm not using escape, right? It's all just pretty much single keys. So 7 is select. You hit it a couple times, you know, you get more, and you know, it's pretty much all sort of minimal. You know, it's all sort of minimal. I've also got the which key thing installed, so if I hit space I, right, you know, you've got all the helper keys, right? So you know, write file. So if you want to, and again, you're gonna have to sort of relearn things, but like space I, semicolon, you know, write, you know, foo.org, right, so forth and so on. But you know, that's pretty much it, right? And it's you know, you just got to come back and dedicate the time to actually learning some of this. Like I said, it is relearning to type. But you know, again, for me, the benefit was, you know, I'm not leaning on you know, I'm not leaning on the control key like I did for 40 years, and so you know, things work better. You know, anyhow, so that's pretty much it. So, Xah, did you want to chime in here?
Yeah, I'm wondering if have you tried Evo mod? Like, have you tried Evo mod?
Have I tried Evo mode?
Yes.
I have not tried Evo, no.
Okay. Well, I was wondering if you have, you know, you might have some experience.
No, I'm not. I'm the VI, you know, Q guy, right? I get out of VI, anything VI as quick as I can. I've actually recently started doing small editing jobs in BinEd, just because it's fast. But that's another rabbit hole. So, Xah, did you want to talk at all, or?
Yeah. Well, sure. I don't have my computer ready though, so
if you have a laptop with you, I can help you with that.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I can do a quick demo.
You know, another thing, like for instance, if you go into DURED mode here, right, one of the things you have to be aware of is that, you know, if you're in command mode, you know, it's all the cursor motion stuff, whatever it is. But to go into the minor modes, you have to switch into, you know, essentially insert mode, right? And then, you know, you've got your all your modal commands. So it actually forces you to, you know, Emacs plays the game of thinking it's not modal, you know, but you're hitting control for everything. One of the things I found in fly keys mode, right, is that all the minor modes, I'm now forced to sort of cognitively, you know, think, okay, am I in, you know, DURED command mode, or am I in insert mode? You know, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you know, you're more aware of that. So like this window popped up, I don't like it. So there's 3. Well, that isn't working very well. Okay, we'll do the old way. But yeah, so and you can go to the buffer, George dot. It went away. That's because I wrote it back out. But George.org. Right, and you know, there you go. All right, so that's pretty much it, right? I mean, it works for me. I would recommend people try it. You know, minimal wear and tear on the hands.
And so you switch between it with the caps lock?
Yeah. So actually, in my case, F is going to be the going to insert mode, right? So I'm doing that. I'm actually using the home key. You can use the caps lock key. That's, I think, the way Xah has it set up. But I've got the home key, which on the Kinesis is right under the thumb, because it's the easiest thing to do, right? And now I've got all the cursor motion, delete word, that sort of thing. There it is. So I don't know. I mean, that's what it is. So I guess I'm done.
So does anyone have questions? I mean, I was wondering what am I gonna show? So you have questions about what that is, or? So it's basically, it's just like Evo mod or VI, but the design is a bit different. In VI you have modal, right? You have command mod and insert mod, but it's the same idea here, except the keys are kind of arranged differently because I thought VI's commands and the key bindings are mostly historical. So I thought, we can try a different way, maybe more logical way. So basically on the right-hand side, all those, all the right hand is moving cursors. And all the left hand is insertion or deleting words when you are in command mod. So that's the basic idea. And by default, the key to switch to command mod is there are several keys, but one of them is Alt space. So you press Alt space, you switch to command mod. It's like VI's escape key. So when you are command mod, right hand move cursors, left hand do deleting or insert stuff, copy paste. And to switch to insert mod, you can press F, or you can press space key twice. So that's a basic idea. That's George just demo. Thank you, George.
And I think you actually did some statistical analysis of commands and are using the. You've actually placed the most common things under single under home row. And you've placed the most common things on single keys, right?
Yeah. So I try to arrange the keys based on command frequency. Like in Emacs, like you call command, every keystroke is eventually a command. So you get a statistics of commands. You see which is the the top 10 or top 20 most used command, and you want to put those commands on home row keys like ASDF and JKL. Home row keys, the most used command should have the most easy finger key to press. So that's the basic idea.
And one of the things I found in actually learning the layout, right, is to pay attention to which ones are on home row keys, which ones are on single keys, and those tend to be the ones that are sort of the most useful. And so as with Emacs, there's an infinite amount of stuff to learn. But that guides you through getting up to speed on it. And again, you have to dedicate time, because it's like learning an editor. It's like learning to type again. But for me, it's actually worth it.
Do you want to share a screen? I can show something.
Actually, I don't have much to share. I have not prepared. Yeah. So.
Okay. So in that case, you can just.
All right. I'm gonna stop sharing.
So for muscle memory.
That's the way it always is. Changing something, it's always about that muscle memory. How much do you got in your fingers?
Oh no, and I've got 40 years of it that I've thrown away at the click of this, right?
So Jonathan, Jeff said he would answer any of your C++ configuration questions.
Ah, it worked. Is this a good time for me to do this thing?
Sure, rock on.
I seem to have jumped into control of the screen by accident. I actually just realized I've given like variants on this like little lightning talk, and this one just focuses on the different alternatives out there. It was at the Birds of a Feather session at CPPCon that I realized we had so many different alternatives. I didn't even know we're out there. Someone say something?
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so I'll just briefly talk about some of the ones I learned about recently. All right, I'll post the link on the Meetup thing. So there's kind of a couple of approaches to supporting C++ and big hard to parse languages in Emacs, and because the old ways were they actually wrote a parser in Emacs Lisp and stuff like that, and that doesn't scale too well, and C++ in particular is very hard to parse. But nowadays you've got two kind of approaches. One is generating a big database of tags that then you use for navigation and stuff like that. And then the other approach is to have this sort of server in the background that ideally has the smarts of a compiler, and you can query it and use information that it supplies to then navigate around your code. So the alternatives that I'm aware of right now, a few of them are based on something called the, let me see, Language Server Protocol. Did I have that right? Thank you. Harry is nodding. And so this is actually something I believe was invented by the Visual Studio people, but they've published the protocol, and now you can hook up, I think in theory, Emacs to Visual C++ in some kind of server mode, and or Vim to, Clang or whatever you want to do. We had a great talk by George Pittarelli at one of our meetups in San Francisco, describing lsp-mode, which kind of connects Emacs into this protocol and allows it to use some of those things. The ones that I'm aware of right now that are based on LSP are ClangD. It's just basically use lsp-mode, and you tell it to use this server that comes along with Clang that implements the server side of the LSP protocol. Wait, that's redundant. It implements the server side of LSP. And then actually at the Birds of a Feather session at CPPCon, I learned about cQuery. Jennifer Wilcox made this great presentation explaining all the features of that, which sort of opened my eyes a little bit. I haven't tried it yet, but it sounds like maybe an independent and possibly even better version of ClangD that does indexing and stuff like that as well. And then recently, even more recently, I heard about CCLS, which is evidently a fork of cQuery and maybe adds more features as well. And then in addition, there's these, there's some other ones. I think rtags does not use lsp-mode, but it's also a server. It's one of those things that does indexing, and like a lot of other tagging things before it, but it seems a lot smarter, and a lot of people really like it. The indexing is done with Clang instead of with some, custom code. Finally, there's something I've used before. Anyone know ewcomplete.me by any chance? I think that has its own separate protocol that I remember from 3 years ago, actually. So, and I tried setting it up back then. I don't know how active it is compared to LSP. I kind of like the fact that LSP is a standard of sorts. So I'm kind of sticking with that for now myself. And I think that's all I have on that. Oh, yeah. So I think we kind of need a shootout on all of those, but I'll tell you what I ended up doing is I'm just using LSP ClangD, but maybe I need to try something else. I'm kind of excited about what I've been learning. Anyway, there is a mode out there on ELPA called let's see, lsp-mode, I think it is. And it's a very, very short package. It just configures LSP mode in a few separate ways. My needs were a little bit more complicated, so I ended up defining my own. And it's on some previous, oh yeah, when I'm gonna post the notes from this meeting, and so those things down there are actually gonna be links that you can click on instead of just light blue text. So it's all in org. So you'll be able to see my own configuration that I use for that. Let's see. And yeah, I think that people who are excited about this, we should all get together and just try them all and have some sample configs out there so we can see which ones we prefer for ourselves. If I have any questions about that. C++, how many people in this room are doing C++? Work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome. Okay, 6 here. How many in Portland? Howard. Okay, some number in Portland.
A siren went by. I put it on mute. Yes.
Thank you for that.
All of us.
All of you. Oh, fantastic. Right. Okay. So something like, 10. That's a pretty good number out of all of us. Right? Okay. Yay. Thank you.
Have you tried Xref, Xrefactory?
Yeah, I think is that separate mode, or is that something that lives on top of some of these other things?
No, it's a separate mode. It's pretty old, but
Yeah.
for C++, I think you have to buy the paid version. I mean, you can open the website.
There's some other binary. I can't figure this out, man. I'm actually. Boom. There we go. Okay. Why don't you share the website if you have an opportunity?
No, I wasn't able to get this conference hooked up to it. That's why we're all logged in with our laptops. Who's next?
I'd also add there's actually one other way. I'd seen, I think it's Dumb Jump, which uses Silver Searcher as its backend, and it's language agnostic. So work with C++, Python, whatever.
Okay. Did you say Dumb Jump?
I think that's the name of the package.
Yeah. Anyone familiar with it?
I've used that for Scala.
Oh, it's for Scala. Okay. Is it like tag based? Does it kind of does it sort of create a database of names that and then their locations or something like that? Or
Grep.
Yeah, it's
Basically.
Grep. Okay.
People who get tired of, this thing doesn't, I need to configure this new language and I need a server and it doesn't work and I have to recompile it and it's just Dumb Jump is dumb.
Okay.
It just runs tag and picks the appropriate thing.
Okay. Okay.
It's completely idiotic, but it works more often than almost anything else.
I kind of use Projectile for that. I've been using like the grep feature, and Projectile runs git grep, and that seems to do really well for me. Actually, before I got on the LSP mode bandwagon, I was basically using Projectile's grep as a sort of cheap jump to definition,
Oh, sure. I still do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I was actually looking for something like that. I couldn't find it.
Dumb Jump.
Dumb Jump has the regular expressions for each language. So it's like, oh, this language uses function of name.
Okay.
It uses voids of name. It has some patterns for each language. It works most of the time, and it doesn't require configuration.
Yeah. I can see the appeal of that. It took me a while to get this working. Yeah.
I still haven't gotten Python working with LSP mode. It's difficult to set that up.
Do you use LPy, LP, whatever it is?
I started with LPy, but now I'm using Anaconda mode.
Anaconda mode.
That's what's pretty.
Yeah. Anyone want to chime in on Python? I'm actually on a Python project right now, so I'd like to.
I remember Jedi being thing to use back in the day, but I had
Jedi. With Anaconda mode?
Yeah, Anaconda mode actually works pretty well.
Yeah, I think it subsumes Jedi and or what's the other one? Rope or something
Rope, yeah, rope.
underneath it, and then it just kind of it's kind of an umbrella thing.
LPy still uses Jedi as the backend.
Oh, okay, cool. We had a speaker at Emacs, at the New York Emacs Meetup that gave a talk on configuring Emacs for Python. I think we recorded it, so it's probably floating around somewhere. It might be good, or it might be completely out of date.
I watched that talk, and that talk actually uses LPy.
Oh, okay.
So I use that same talk to set my LPy up. It worked pretty fine, and then I wanted to try Anaconda mode. So I tried it, and basically I never needed to switch back. So it was just using Anaconda mode. But LPy, setting up LPy mode needs some patience. You need to install Python packages using pip. Then you need to install some Ubuntu-based system packages. And then you can install LPy, and then you get to configure it. So you need some patience.
I remember seeing that talk in person and thinking, I should get this set up, and then doing it for a while, and then getting tired, and then thinking I don't really write Python anyway. But it looks really cool.
It is. It is. I mean, once you set it up, it works pretty well.
You also have something for iPython notebooks?
Yes, it's called EIN. I haven't set that up. It's Emacs iPython notebook.
I have used that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
I've used that.
If someone has that setup, like, can you just show the setup? Like, I don't have that. So, do you have that?
I might. Let's see if I have something.
It'd be kind of fun to compare that with an org mode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I tend to prefer org mode for the IPython stuff, but I could.
Can you show that? I would be really interested in knowing how you do that.
No, I don't have a setup. I would like to use it though.
It takes a little bit to get going and keep going, so I don't, currently have it. I was doing some Coursera stuff and had it working, but it works.
See if I can get it installed quickly. Sure, probably. Somebody else has something.
Howard, can I ask you, where are you?
Where am I?
Oh,
Are you guys each at your homes?
No.
Yeah.
We all came to, or at least up here, we all came into a room that we could all hook up with our conference room. But this conference room, I didn't realize, doesn't take a non-numeric password. So we're all sitting around the table logged into with our laptops.
And I'm at home here on the East Coast, so this is the odd man out, but that's okay.
Oh, by the time you set that up, I would like some feedback. Like, is this format working out? Like, do you think this is comfortable enough? Or should we be doing anything different? The reason why I'm asking this is because if we think that this is comfortable enough, then I think we should open it up for the next meetup for like anyone else to join.
I think the tech is fine. I think maybe we should have registered who was going to give talks and in what order first.
Yeah.
Prevent a little dead time.
Yeah.
But
so one feedback is basically we should be more organized. We'll do that. We were depending on you for some lightning talks.
Sheesh.
And you did not even bring your laptop.
Next time I'll come up with something.
Anything else? Any other feedback?
Thank you very much for doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anyone using JavaScript? Anyone? I like to see.
I do JavaScript.
I am. I shouldn't have done that.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'm showing up on Howard's screen. I'm using JavaScript. Did you have a specific question or?
Just any general setup or package you use? I like to see other people, how other people.
I do a lot of work with Flow. So I have that flow set up through flight check and through company mode as well.
What's Flow?
Flow's like it's like a dialect of JavaScript that adds type checking annotations to it.
Oh, so you use a Flow mod with it in Emacs?
It's Flow itself is an independent tool, so you can run it from the command line to do like a type check on your JavaScript code.
Did you hook it up with FlyMake or something?
Yeah, I have hooked up with flight check. So there's a flight check backend for it, and there's also a company mode backend for that one.
Okay.
I also have ESLint set up with flight check backend, so I get linting errors immediately. Everything, so that's really nice. I did try to get it working with LSP mode at some point. I didn't put too much time into it though. It was mostly because
What was the server in the backend? Was it another? Well, I mean,
LSP?
yeah.
It would have been Flow.
You were just using a Flow server it had.
Yeah, Flow already has a server, but there's like a LSP connection to it.
Oh, that's built into. Oh, okay.
I don't think it's built into Flow. I think you have to add something for that. But it's been a while since I've tried it out, but and I was mostly doing it to get Java to work. Because I guess Emacs doesn't have a lot of great Java options if you folks have tried that. LSP Java seemed to have a lot of promise, though. I didn't get very far with it.
Yeah.
I did have to write some special stuff for fly check, and it was just fly check to make sure that it would use my project's version of Flow and not expect a global version. But that wasn't too bad. I could reach into the node modules and use the executable we found there. Yeah.
I've never seen flight check. I've never used it myself, actually.
This is one of the places where I'm again kind of spoiled by Space Max. It didn't leave me a choice. It just was already set. I just had to configure it. So, yeah.
For JavaScript, I use JS2-mode. I don't know if you use that as well.
Yeah, JS2-mode and Tide.
What is
Tide is the TypeScript checker, but it works on JavaScript code without, like, it doesn't have to be like
That's really interesting.
And it works with flight check, so it will show you a list of all the errors in the current buffer.
How do you guys run the JavaScript in Emacs?
There is a nice mode for that, which I forgot the name. It connects to Chrome and it gives you a REPL in Emacs and runs the thing in Chrome. But I just run it in my browser. I'm running web pages.
Is it Skewer by any chance?
What?
Is it Skewer by any chance?
Maybe. I
seem to remember something called that.
With JS2 mode, there's also the guy that wrote like multiple cursors, Magnars, I think is his name, wrote JS2 refactor on top of that, which adds all sorts of nice refactoring ability. So I use the one to like log something all the time with it. With key binding, it's smart about putting something in a console log and like adding globals or changing variable names and such. Nice. JS2 is crazy. Like they took Firefox's JavaScript engine and rewrote it in eLisp. Yeah, so it's like a full-blown parser. It knows your code as well as a browser does.
Is that Yankees package?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
We had something like this also. The eLisp incorporating JavaScript.
Yeah,
that was
a while ago.
More than a decade old or something.
All right, so here's a question. Zeppelin notebooks and Emacs.
What was the
Is
question?
anybody working with Zeppelin notebooks? Does anybody have a way to make Emacs edit them?
A Zeppelin notebook?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
So it's a Jupyter design, right? Just like Jupyter.
Okay.
I know Jupyter is a solved problem. The Zeppelin is from Apache and it backends with Spark and a bunch of other things, but it seems to be Luddite in the it's the JSON notebook format with code as single elements of JSON, and it's just very Luddite. I was wondering if anybody was doing that.
Haven't heard of it, and it'd be interesting to compare that to org mode.
Yeah. Everything is worse, right? But you know, everything is worse than org mode. That's just the way it is. But it's the same idea, right? It's the same idea as the literate programming thing.
Is there a meeting?
Yes.
Something small I can share.
I have a discussion topic. Anyone want to hear this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I don't know how many languages are like this in C++. It's often the case that you have like some library you're using or something like that, which is unique in some way, and you want to format your use of the library in a particular way. And a classic example is like what they call domain-specific embedded languages, right? Where you have, I don't know, you're trying to describe something sort of declaratively inside the code. So someone I know, his name is Ben Deane, really great guy. I did a little presentation at our CPPCon Birds of a Feather session, but he posted recently that he was using this state machine description library in C++, and he wrote his own really short mode for the purpose of helping him format it. So I wanted to ask the assembled experts about this coding style and see what you thought. So I'll just share this window real quick, hopefully. Wait, where am I? Oh, I'm not logged in anymore, unfortunately. Sorry. Let me fix that real quick. Wait, am I? There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this thing, which is that one, hopefully share. Oh, yay, cool. Okay. Oh yeah, people can see this. So it's like he defines, he uses a bunch of regular expressions to define the kinds of, what the kind of code he wants to look, what he uses should look like. And then I'm just going to scroll up real quick. This align Boost.SML part thing seems to rely on something called align regex. Is that a built-in?
Yes.
So what do we know about align regex? It looks like it can be used as the basis for a lot of stuff, or is this a frowned upon programming style here?
When it comes to Emacs and Lisp, it's fine. I think it's the job done.
Has anyone seen this kind of idiom before, where you have something like it's not at the level of a mode where you're trying to actually deal with the language structures generally, but you've got a kind of a specific thing that you want to format or whatever. Anyone else tried to solve this problem?
I had something much less complicated once, where again it was some specific thing. It had its own. So it was something that was simple. We had to write an excellent password for it, but because we had to write a bunch of the text in that dialect grew longer and longer, it was convenient to write a small code just to colorize some of the main keywords and stuff like that. So I didn't. Align regex wasn't involved, but yeah, the general idea of like having a minor mode just for that, like if you're working with a lot of text that is of a certain pattern, and identifying at least the nouns and verbs as they are is kind of useful.
This isn't for formatting DSLs or anything, but I went through a phase where I really liked aligning equal signs and sequential assignments.
Yes.
And align regex is perfect for that.
Oh yeah, I'm totally into that. I like to align like the things, commas and stuff like that. So they're all like, right. So
yeah,
align regex.
Column sort of stuff.
Yes.
It's perfect for that.
Oh, it's much nicer. Yeah. When my variable names are different lengths, it just drives me crazy when it's not like it's,
Sure.
Right.
That's why you rename your variables so that they all line up.
That's another approach.
Only single letters.
Although this is C++ Clang format to do this for you.
Ah, really? Okay, so they're in.
Client format does a bunch of stuff.
Uh-huh.
There's a dot client format style. You can fill in a bunch of something. You can define your own thing. So you're gonna love it, I think.
Yeah,
You can say, okay, align it with this. How much I should do, and you can have weights for like,
Yeah.
if it is within this thing, then weight it a little bit more and stuff.
But isn't that general for the whole language? Like you described, like what the overall language should look like.
It's for how to format all the source code.
So he's trying to do like just specifically the use of this one particular library.
Plain format, you can use it for things outside of C++.
No. it's C++ everything, I guess. C++ is bad enough to require something like that.
So this is a PEG style design? Like parsing expression grid?
Right. No, it's for defining state machines instead of parsers. So yeah. Boost.SML, by the way, if anyone's interested. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things in Emacs are kind of written in this way, where there's a state that is understood, and that state is the buffer contents, and the location is based on the point, and the point is for that reason. So yeah, I mean, on one hand, you kind of have to, you can't run any part of this code without the whole thing, right? It all comes together. You get it all or nothing. But that said, that's probably how you want to run it, and it's probably the easiest, most straightforward way to write it.
Right on. Should this have been like a minor mode or something like this? This seems like it's pretty much just defines a command. Okay.
Functions, right? Yeah, just running a function over code to reformat it, re-indent it. So sure, why not?
All right. He doesn't know I'm putting him on display like this. So. It's the nicest guy in the world.
Sometimes a lot easier than trying to load up a formatted file, put it in some intermediate, language structure, and then re-spit it out.
It's funny how much he lists by write. That's basically a macro that I've written into code, right? Where it's like, okay,
right.
now go word for word, and now insert this.
Right.
Yep.
Macro doesn't quite work, so improve it.
Yeah, when you want to kick a macro up a notch. I mean, sure, you could spend 4 days of your life making it in a beautiful way, but yeah, you just get it done. What else have we learned?
Show Emacs iPython notebook if you want to see that.
All right, Daniel's ready to do some notebook.
Nothing super complex. I don't know. I don't. I'm gonna do this share. That was the big green button. All right, there it is. No, I can't make it bigger. No, let's commit. I'm working. Maybe not. No. Oh, I deleted the whole thing. I don't know what I did. Oh, there it is. Okay. What's it called? Font size, something. Increase. Text scale. X scale. Control X, Control Plus. There it is. Thank you. I was doing the wrong thing. I appreciate that. All right, there we go. This is some Jupyter notebook, I suppose, that I have from a while ago. To get this running, I'm still running a server over here in my console. And then you can do, there are a bunch of commands prefixed with ein. So I first had to log in by specifying this token here. There's supposed to be a way to get Emacs iPython notebook to launch a server for you and run it. I haven't been able to get that to work. It always errors out somehow, and I've never put in the effort to fix it. Yeah, you can connect and then get a list of your notebooks. This is small again. In this directory. And then this, I think, looks very much like a notebook does in your browser, so I can do things like that. My imports aren't working. I haven't, it was failing, but it also does neat stuff like show inline images if you plot graphs and such, which I was very impressed with the first time I saw that. I didn't know that my Emacs would be able to do that. Emacs iPython notebook kind of doesn't play well with certain other modes. Like I had to disable this thing I had that was stripping white space at the ends that actually like locked up Emacs, or strips any white space when I save, and that locked up Emacs for minutes at a time. Don't know why, but that was something with this mode. So it does all sorts of weird stuff. Undo doesn't work properly with Emacs iPython notebook. Something about it like can't promise consistency or something with the server. Yeah, it's a nicer interface, I think, than using a browser when you're doing stuff with Jupyter Notebook. Anything cool I can show? Do people know Jupyter Notebook? I don't really know it that well. I used it only briefly.
Can it handle rendering some of the different markdown sections?
Yes, it does do Markdown as well. I don't know how, but I remember seeing stuff about Markdown, and it will handle that. Apparently, there are commands for that. Let's see if there's anything. Nope, there's nothing. There's no ein Markdown. There's something to do with Markdown though. Yeah, it'll do that.
And can you specify different languages, like at the top or something?
No, this is a, is it called a kernel, I think?
Yeah.
That also took some doing. Oh yeah, okay, I clicked on that and now my mini buffer is showing select kernel, but I believe I've only got the one.
That's how you could specify Julia or R or something, right?
Yeah, right here. This is, I guess, the list of the kernels. So yeah, presumably if you added some new one, this would use some magic to have it show up in this buffer. Yeah, no, very cool. I liked it.
What mod is this?
I'm sorry?
What mod is this? What?
This is Emacs iPython notebook, or EIN.
EIN,
EIN, yeah.
Can you convert this to org? The org format?
I do not know. I'm not sure.
I've seen a recent talk on YouTube.
I wrote some little Python scripts that'll go both ways.
I'm so sorry.
So you actually have to read the it saves it out in this sort of a JSON format, and then you have to actually read it and put it into an org format and back.
Yeah, these things are like, yeah, that's right. They're just a bunch of JSON.
Yeah, it's very annoying, but you can convert.
Congratulations. Thanks. When you run out of batteries, you know you've had a good day. Just like it. Yeah, excellent. Hey, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I remember playing with IPython years ago, and my daughter's been playing around with Jupyter, but I haven't tried connecting with Emacs yet. I might have to just do that, because you're right. Emacs is always better than a browser.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Emacs is the browser.
Yeah. Well, good. All right, what else have we learned this month?
All right, no one else has anything. I can quickly share something I shared inside Pure recently.
Please.
Let me connect to the meeting. Let's get that around the number.
Yeah.
542. 102. 259. 259. Meeting password. Emacs at Pure. And sure. Okay. Can everyone hear me over there?
Yeah.
Some context. So this was not like a very hardcore talk, so some of this is probably wishy-washy and boring. I'll skip over that part. But hopefully there's at least a little bit of slightly Set
code from the repo.
I don't think there's any code.
Okay.
I will rapidly skip over any slides that have code. So the slides are not shared yet.
So this is getting recorded.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me. No, that's all good.
All right.
So we should be fine.
Like I was specifically asked by the legal team that no code.
All right. So good point. No worries here. That's all fine. So yeah, and this was sort of meant to target people who may not even know much about Emacs, and I'll just convince them that hey, come over to the website and so on. So yeah, it is. I do feel it's an editor for Jedi's. So, and I specifically made this sort of a non-evangelical kind of talk. It's just to show and tell and so on. So I asked everyone what editors they use. For myself, I used Vim for about a decade before I, just randomly decided to try this out, and I've been using it for the last 6-7 years. And so I guess I'm either stuck or whatever. So yeah, I mean, this was intended to be, just going over some workflows, things that, I really find are very productive, stuff that I really can't live without anymore. There was some demo stuff with these slides. I'll skip that right now because, yeah, we pointed out it's all to do with our repo. And yeah, and even though there is some why Emacs, I shove that to the end just to prove the point that, you don't need to like sell this, it sells itself. Yeah, you all know this, but a lot of people, have been using Emacs. I still find people using Emacs, without just out of the box, the new Emacs out of the box experience, and I can't stand that. So at the very minimum, I say, please use Helm and or Ivy, but I started using Helm first before I learned about Ivy, so I stuck with that. But whatever works for you. And yeah, don't type Alt X every time, and then type out longhand. If you're using more than a few keystrokes, like more than 4 or 5 keystrokes, you're doing it wrong. And once you find these things, you just can't go back. So I use like my search Control S is bound to Helm swoop. It makes everything a breeze. Again, I wish I could show the terminal thing, but yeah, maybe next time I should prepare a personal repo for this. Since I think Jeff mentioned C++, I use R tags. I haven't tried the rest yet. I'm going to go and try that next, CCLS and all that good stuff. But for now, yeah, R tags works. One of the reasons R tags is better, R tags and the C query and all are better than the stuff that existed all this, I think you complete me and all, is that they have semantic understanding of C++ because they're based in Clang. So it's not just a grep, which would work fine, I think, for Python and JavaScript, but in C++ with all this horrible mangled stuff and namespaces and all, you really sometimes, flaw in the language or something good in the language, whatever you think. But so understanding the code helps. And so R tags does understand, it uses Clang somehow. So you need to find symbol and all, find references at point, sort of just works. And you can, and of course, this is again preaching to the choir here. But if you're doing anything, you should use Mx compile, metax compile, and get stuff in, jump to the code. Don't switch back and forth with terminal. Again, I see people doing that all the time. I don't want to hate on Vim people, but I see this. It's an anti-pattern for me. You're in the terminal, you open Vim, you do something, :Q, then you do something in the shell, then you open Vim again. What are you doing? But anyway, that's how they roll, I guess. And I think you mentioned projectile. Yeah. So this is one of my most frequently used commands of all time. And I'm in somewhere. I just need to open a file. I don't know where it is. I don't know which folder it's in or whatever. But find file, do what I mean. Just works. You type 3 letters and you're there. Again, it's nothing. This is not rocket science. But once you start using it, you feel like, wow, why did I ever? So yeah, I already mentioned Helm swoop. This is the Silver Search integration. Although I've recently, after getting frustrated with how the Silver Searcher handles the -v thing, I've switched over to ripgrep now. I'm not back, but I think there's an equivalent Helm integration for ripgrep, and I don't know what it is, but it exists. Helm is full of good stuff. Incidentally, I just discovered something I did not. Well, it's obvious once you know it, but Helm also has a git grep mode, which is a bit like the dumb jump thing that you mentioned. It just kind of just works. Whenever your cursor is on something, you do Helm git grep, which if you're doing it right is, metax G, G, H, and it should just work with that. And then it pretty much instantly shows the matches, and you can jump between them and so on. And there's another very useful thing that I use. Again, this comes up in C++, but I think it's pretty much language agnostic in the sense that it's probably useful elsewhere as well. Helm semantic. So basically, I think it is similar. Well, maybe not. It basically structures your stuff. So at least I can speak for C++. When you have this, let's say, hopefully you don't have many thousands of lines long files, but in C++ you often do. Usually you tell yourself other people wrote those files. But either way, you have to make sense of it. There's namespaces, there's classes, there's structs, there's all kind of nonsense going on. So this shows you like an outline view of your code. And then you can like browse the outline view and jump back. So, again, it's one of those things where you use it.
Are you able to actually show Helm? Because I've never seen it, and I don't have a lot of clues to what it's doing. I mean, when you're done with talk, can you actually show it?
Use the hackathon project.
Yeah, so when I did the demo, I was showing Emacs in the terminal, which is again something I wanted to do because people have this notion that Vim, if you're using the terminal, then you need Vim because Emacs is its own thing, it's its own operating system, and the idea is that no, it works just as well in the terminal. In fact, I use it in the terminal all the time at least for work stuff. But I can show you an example of Helm with sort of personal code in a non-terminal setting. I have to. Right. Let me do that at the end. I have to stop sharing, then start sharing.
I've just never seen it. I hear everybody say they use it. And, I've never seen it.
I'm pretty happy you asked about it because I just assume that everyone sort of uses Helm or Ivy already. But yes, this will be very exciting to show you, and I'm pretty sure you won't go back to not using one of these two. Again, I don't want to I try to be as non-evangelical as possible. So Helm or Ivy, but please pick one. Although I guess if you're using Spacemacs, the stuff is already inbuilt. I'm not sure.
Spacemacs already has Helm.
This is again, so this is where you get into digression of how Emacs was built long back. So, there are things called frames and Windows. Windows doesn't mean what you think it does. But once you know what it does, you can move on. But this is again something small I discovered, and everything here is like that. Nothing is rocket science. Once you know it, you don't want to go back. So when you want to be able to structure your screen in, actually, hold on, let me just see if I can stop share and share desktop, and I can switch to I lost my mouse in this, which is a problem to have. I can follow the highlights. There you go. Let me share the screen this time. I was still sharing this, right? So I need to share, but now share the Emacs first. Okay. Random stuff going on. I'm going to use both. Okay. And this time I'm going to share the test. Okay. So you make this bigger. Command plus does work, I guess. So this is some random Go code for something I was playing around with, but just to show what Helm is. So when I do meta X, okay. See, this is what Emacs has some rough edges. It expands the code up there, but not the stuff down below. But basically, I just did, my meta X shortcut, which, by the way, another digression for later, but don't use, okay, we'll talk about that later. I think that's later in the talk. It's a small thing about how to prevent carpal tunnel syndrome with Emacs. But yeah, so Helm is, this is one, in general, Helm is just taking everywhere you have a list of stuff, and it makes it possible to use it without typing much. So if I want to use, go to Magit, I just type MA, or well, even MS, or whatever, you get the point. It just highlights letters and does this brute force thing and finds stuff that way. Finding buffers is, again, enhanced. So there is already a buffer list, but why do that when you can do this? There is already a find file, but why find files when you can do it in a, slightly, dare I say, more civilized way? But so in general, Helm just augments a bunch of stuff that Emacs has, and then adds some stuff. This is Helm swoop that I was talking about. So in my case, I like it so much I just bound it to Control S. You don't have to do that, but if you do it, you might again not go back.
What is Helm swoop?
Helm swoop is this thing. It's so you type. So you see, I'm jumping through the doc.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's
as I'm
Swiper.
Yes, like Swiper.
Swiper.
It is better than Swiper in some way, which I forget now. Which is why I read that, I remembered that, I installed it, and then I forgot what it was.
No.
Okay, maybe not. That's
Anyway.
fine. Again, not evangelizing Helm, Swoop, or Swiper, but pick one. Don't use the I want to type something and I have a typo. Oh no, let me backspace, and don't do that again. I mean, of course, if you want to use a regex search, you can do that and so on. But that's yeah. So that's Helm, and maybe I'll come back to something else if I remember it. Right. So where were we? And of course, this is something I realized when I was writing this, that magic autocorrects to magic, and it's totally appropriate because it is really the best Git porcelain ever. Like, I mean, I've tried various things. You know, there are all these, the GitHub thing. There is the Atlassian thing. There is Git Tower. It's all good, and sometimes you need that if you're visualizing a complex tree and stuff like that, and you want to really see in this dense branch of 20 branches what happened where. But that's like 0.1% of your stuff. Most of the time, you're just doing, what's my history? What's this log? What's this? And for that, nothing beats Helm. And again, since I have that, let's escape again, don't I? Since I have this open, I can just go to. Well, I'm assuming everyone knows about magic, but LL gets to the log. You hit something, you see the diff is right there. It has a great. Let me go back to the main magic mode. It has a great. They're going to a file somewhere.
Alert from system UE server. Low battery.
Oh no.
I don't think that was.
Alert from low battery.
Uh-oh.
It's a very, very persistent assistant there. But,
now it's your battery's turn.
Just to show the blame mode, so there's this great magic blame thing, which, yeah, so in this case, this is very boring blame because there's only one thing, but, it's interesting enough to, so, it is, again, you can do git blame and see the stuff, this has a recursive blame, by the way. So if you click on this thing, it shows you that version with blame on it, with all the lines colorized and stuff. So, and so on. And there is magic log buffer file, which quickly shows you the log for that file. Again, there is a git one-liner that you can use. You can be like a git Jedi and do that, or you can just do this. So that works. And there's tons of other magic stuff, which, the better experts here, but it's just one of the day-to-day things. Most of the time you're just looking at the log, rebasing stuff, and, it makes all this stuff very easy. Yeah, this is, I should have gone to that slide and talked about it, but yeah, checking out stuff, making changes, all this stuff becomes very, very straightforward. So rebasing is literally, your LL to get the log, RI, go and rebase view, P, F, Control C, you're done. That's it. You don't have to, there's no cognitive overload of, oh man. So it sort of makes all these hills into small humps. So you can just do things more often that, if you don't do it this way, you can still do it, but in your mind it's going to be like, oh, it's this thing I have to do, and, maybe I'll do less of it and so on. So it's just.
Can I ask you about that? Actually, I've struggled with merging in my JET, and it sounds like you have a setup for that. This S merge thing, is it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You
mentioned in a previous slide.
I did. Okay. Yeah, I can. I don't have a good demo for that. But yes, so S-merge, it kind of, it really, again, once you do that, then you're not going to look at those raw diffs with the angle brackets again.
Yeah.
Like a peasant. Sorry. But,
I totally do.
Because,
yeah.
Maybe I can just generate those angle brackets and see if I can trigger a S-merge mode or something like that. Like if I, let's see. No, I don't want to do that and waste time. But yes, it sort of just works as you might expect it to.
Do you have a special configuration with Majet to specify which merge tool to use or something like that?
No, I just use the built-in S-merge thing.
Okay.
And when you reload the buffer, it's smart enough to know. Again, it's not rocket science, but it just moves diff by diff and it colorizes the stuff for you. So if you have multiple chunks and you have hotkeys for, I think it's the by default is Control C, caret. And then that's the leader key. And then there's like, I think M for keep mine, O for keep other, A for keep all. So you can like rapidly, if there's, sometimes you really have to do a lot of thinking, but most of the time you're just, keeping mine, keeping other. If that's the common case, then you can just rapidly do like, next, mine, next, other, next, mine, and like done.
But is this a mode that's triggered out of Majit, or is it a mode that,
no,
that like
I don't. This
it's a minor mode that recognizes those less thans and
that's all it
starts to
is.
do something special?
Yeah, it's a minor mode that recognizes that stuff.
It also supports ediff right off of the bat, so you can use that one too.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, so this is the part where I guess no one here needs this. Skip. The configuration, I learned this the hard way. I mean, if you have a .emacs, again, if you have space max, I guess you don't have to worry about this stuff, but I have a config already, so that makes it harder to switch to space max. But yeah, if you have a config, just keep it version controlled because, you know, just for sanity. And once in a while, yeah, you do end up adding new packages. And but if you have this already set up, then another common complaint about Emacs sort of goes away, you know, because one of the common complaints is the running in terminal stuff, which is just not true. The other common complaint is that, oh, you know, it's like I have this bespoke setup and now I can't move anywhere. That's not really true. I mean, you just keep this one file and that's it. You just go somewhere else, you just fetch the file, install it, you're done. And again, someone recommended this. I don't know who it was, that you should have one level of indirection where you have your .emacs just load this other thing and you get the other thing, and that's just a nit that I have. I mean, oh yes, this is a carpal tunnel slide for anyone who is interested in that. So raise your hands if you use caps lock ever. Wow.
For control.
Oh, okay, yes. If you ever use caps lock for caps lock, but maybe you folks already know this, but yeah, this is the first thing I do when I got this laptop. This is probably the first thing I did, which is go to keyboard settings and get rid of caps lock. Because this is useful even without Emacs. Like, why would you? Yeah.
It's pretty useful for shouting.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yes.
Emacs upcase.
So that's why if you remap it to control, you wouldn't shout as much.
So yeah, this saves most of typing, and then this is one other additional small change where I think yes. So meta X, I did it. Oh, sorry, this slide is the wrong thing. It's Control X, Control M for me. Probably the second thing I did ever was the repos. Everyone here already knows that. Everyone here knows about all this stuff. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, this is more of everyone knows this stuff. Again, no one here needs to be told why Emacs. But yes, it will outlive everything else. You know, so there always folks use Sublime and all, and I like that. So I keep going and comparing to see, hey, does this lack anything? But yeah, as you mentioned, multiple cursors exist. I didn't mention that here because it's a little gimmicky, but you know, for anyone who says, hey, I need multiple cursors, it's there.
I don't know about gimmicky. I can't live without it anymore.
Okay. I use it more to find and replace, but maybe if there's other stuff.
Also push out for iEdit, similar to multiple cursors. It's pretty nice, and you can have it show you all the lines that you're actually editing with a little bit of context.
So yeah, very cool. I guess I don't have a good comeback of folks who like Atom a lot. That's good, but again, it'll probably outlive Atom, I think.
Can you use Atom in a terminal?
Yes. that should be my comeback. Like, yes.
Atom also doesn't quite have the same philosophy. Like, it's built in JavaScript, but not the same way that Emacs is built in eLisp.
That's true, but the fans insist that no, it's like that, but better. You know.
I was hoping it would be, but it's
yeah. So same thing. I tried that. I keep trying to see something is actually better, and what happens. Nothing actually is.
VS Code would be a better alternative to Atom, I guess.
VS Code, yes.
Yeah, because Microsoft is pushing a lot in it. Like they're having like huge packages which like do autocomplete, and they have their own. Like they recently open sourced the LSP, but before that, like they have a lot of stuff going in it. People are excited, and if you see the trends on Google Trend, you will see like the VS Code is like just climbing up.
Awesome.
Yeah. Since past year.
That was one of the things I was wondering when you mentioned, or when you were talking about using the language server protocols. If you could, if VS Code has all the languages covered with the built-in language server, if you could connect to that as your backend generically and cover your languages generically.
So it is like so the Palantir company. So they created a package for Python which interacts with LSP. So you can have the Palantir's like product or like the Python server, which can help you with your Python code in Emacs as well, since it talks with LSP. Yeah.
So LSP is basically just a protocol. Anyone can implement the protocol and popularize the server, and you can download that, install it, and if it works for you, it works for you. Otherwise, you can switch to a different server.
But the implementation, the server implementation that bundles with Visual Studio, that covers a wide range of languages?
Oh, that I don't know, because I don't use VS Code.
They have like TypeScript. It's their own proprietary language which helps with JavaScript. As they mentioned, that you can use the TS server, the TypeScript server, using LSP, and which you can connect with Emacs. So it's like just like pluggable servers. So you can just swap your server as per your need, and it will talk to you. Yeah.
When you connect to a server like LSP to a server, do they charge you? Or is it usually free or?
It's on your own machine.
Local. It's a local server.
Oh, local. But you don't want to install like a local C++ compiler, like the whole thing, right?
You would need the compiler. Like for example, the LSP-mode for C++ would need ClangD or GCC. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm just giving it a path to the binary. It starts it up.
So all these LSP uses, usually you just connect to the local server. You're not. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, potentially there might be a future where people would have commercial servers which would be faster and more intelligent.
I always thought it's like connecting to somewhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of like comment.
Oh, comment. Okay.
What is
comment? Comment.
It's pretty old though. I think there's some newer version of it, but I don't know what it is. It's this communication thing where you can. Isn't that the basis for Slime and stuff like that? I thought, or I don't know what else is built on comment, but it's like an old
comment mode.
Yeah.
The whole thing on masking Emacs on comment mode, building things with comment mode. It's kind of fun.
Anyway, yeah, and also folks here probably don't need to be told this, but yeah, Emacs is main client browser and a therapist. Although I'm not sure if anyone actually uses the therapist. I probably don't want to know. There's one more thing. Oh yeah, and the thing that brought me to Emacs from Vim was actually I got to the point where I wanted to script a bunch of stuff, and Vim script is horrible. I don't know if anyone's tried it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's and then after that, writing emails was just a breeze. And on that note, Emacs is actually probably the best way to do if you ever want to dabble in Closure or whatever. It's a separate talk, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Has anyone seen that that link that was going around, the article on the evolution of Emacs Lisp and the history of Emacs? Came out last month. It was amazing. It was really great. It wasn't just history, but it was also like kind of insights into sort of the evolution of the language itself, and like where did Emacs Lisp as a language come from, and like recent stuff. They talked about like the split with Lucid and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah, they really covered the whole history really well.
I saw that someone put together a repo of Emacs circa 1979 or something.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh.
I haven't dug deep into it, but it looks pretty cool.
Can you include a link for that?
I'll put that link on the meetup. Yeah, that was awesome.
There used to be a Deck 20 running, and it was Paul Allen funded it, where you could telnet in and run TECO Emacs. Within the last 5 years, I did this.
Oh, cool.
I wonder if it's is that the Living Computer Museum in Seattle by any chance?
It very well might be. I was of course telnetting and didn't know where it was, but it was an honest to God KL running tops 20 with TECO Emacs, and it was up, and you could get an account. The thing I found that was really kind of, I could edit files in that, but, you know, the Emacs of today is you know, you could edit files in that, and that's about the only thing that was recognizable between, you know, the TECO base and what we do today. You know, you could edit files. That's about all that's the same. Just, you know, all the control, you know, all the cursor motion stuff, but it's just a completely different animal.
Was it constantly swapping? Do you know?
No, I didn't have megabytes. It actually had the 256 36-bit words with, I think, the max the machine could have. 256K 36-bit words.
The good old days. Now we have so many cores, we don't know what to do with them all.
No kidding.
Does anyone know Jamie Zawinski, by the way?
Not personally.
No.
It's like AWZ, the Mozilla guy.
Yeah. Oh, he was the loose Emacs maintainer before he was the Mozilla guy.
Mark Andreessen also did
Really? No kidding.
something called Epoch, which was before Lucid Emacs and had fonts and Windows and so
Oh, wow. These would be really good people to have in our meetup group.
It would. Work on it next week, or, you know.
And JWZ owns a nightclub, and so I think it would solve our meeting room problem as well. So
I may fly down for that.
I bought my keyboard, so this special keyboard, I thought, so you guys can try it.
Oh, Kinesis.
So this is like $350, and the good thing about it is it's ergonomic. It's special ergonomic. So if you wanna, you know,
Kinesis? That's the Kinesis?
Yeah, Kinesis.
Yeah, that's what I'm typing on here.
I mean, it's a lot like.
Oh, nice.
Can you show it?
It's just the same as yours.
Yeah, I traded
one of the nice
audio.
One of the nice things about that is all your you know, all the things you use you know, regularly are under your thumbs, your strong digits.
Jenny's using an ergodox, which is pretty much the same.
I have an ergodox.
Did anyone try and convert ergodox into a wireless keyboard?
I had the same question. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'm excited about the idea.
I didn't do it.
Did anyone here solder it together?
I'll show you how you carry that thing. How did you transport your keyboard?
Who, me? What?
Yeah, how did you transport that? Because I always had to put mine in that big clunky box it came in.
High tech.
Wow, you live brave.
Did anyone solder their ergodox, or is that no? Yeah, I bought the version that they do it for you in the factory.
Ergodox easy.
Easy, yes, it was easy.
How much is it?
It was like $350.
I have been looking into that. I found a really nice Bluetooth dongle that you can, like, if you have a power bank, you can just connect that dongle into the power bank, connect your ergodox into that dongle, and then you can pair it with your machine.
Right.
So that kind of makes it wireless. So basically, it's a hacky workaround.
Who's the vendor? Who makes
It's a local company. I think it's a one-man company, and he basically just custom orders it. The firmware is not open source. And like I tried ripping it apart. He has actually scratched the chip names as well, like the numbers of the chips as well. So I think it's a one-man company, and he just sells those for like $40 or something. I will bring it next time if people want to try that. But the thing is, it kind of has some bugs. You have to, sometimes when it doesn't work, you have to repair it and everything. But the really cool thing is, once you connect your keyboard to it, the way you control the firmware and send commands to the firmware is you open an editor and you put it in the command mode, and then it just starts typing out on the editor on its own. Like you put the commands and it starts typing out on the editor. So that's really cool. It reminded me of war games. But it was really nice.
Hopefully it was over a 300 baud modem.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I will bring it next time. Then I think the next meetup is November 14th, right? Yeah. Yes, I will definitely bring it next time. And I am actually trying to work on an open source Arduino based, the same dongle, basically. But let's see how far I can get.
Howard's getting his.
Well, for sharing keyboards, I have to share mine then. So this is the one I've been doing, Keyboardio. And this is my new favorite.
What's it called again, Howard?
Keyboardio.
You should show on the bottom too.
Oh yeah, it's got a little thing to hold.
Nice. Oh.
That way you can position it wherever you want. And the connector is just a little Cat5, so it comes with a couple different sizes. I keep it kind of close together. And I don't have it plugged in, otherwise it lights up and you program it. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun programming it.
It does a little light show, if I remember right. It's really pretty.
Oh, it's very pretty, very nice. And having
you program the line
on your four fingers to run Emacs functions is quite useful. Well, that killed the conversation.
If people are interested in keyboards, I think there's a company called Kono, Kono, and they have an open event on November 10th in San Jose. So it's basically just people from Input Club who basically just hack around with their keyboards.
Input Club. Is this a meetup?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to look that up.
I will include the link in the notes.
Would be. We should go down to that.
I really am looking forward to picking their brains about how, Bluetooth versus 2.4 gigahertz spectrum is for the wireless keyboard. Let's see.
So many fun choices nowadays.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy input devices, has anyone ever worked with a corded keyboard? Like a one-hander?
Oh, Facebook has been trying to sell that to me, like in the advertisements. I've been researching keyboards a lot, so I get weird Facebook advertisements. But I have not. Does anyone else have experience with that? Like you just...
How does it work?
You wear it like a glove, and then it recognizes your motion, like taps. For example, A would be 2 taps of your index finger, something like that. And like you have to learn how to type. It takes a while. It has a steep learning curve, but it's basically just you wear it and you don't even need a surface. You can just type on your thigh.
So you have 5 fingers, right? So 2 to the 5. You've got a whole bunch of different combinations of chords that you can press, and you can map those to, you know, any kind of input signal you want. So letters, numbers, whatever.
Have you tried that, Harry?
I haven't. There's a blog post that's been floating around forever called Engelbart's Violin. And apparently Doug Engelbart, who was like the father of the mouse and stuff, also had this other device, which was like, it was like a 5-key piano that he was using at that demo. And that's like the thing that never caught on. But, you know, there's been this ongoing sort of look at corded input devices. I'm just curious about it. Seems neat.
It's actually pretty cheap as well. I think it's just $60 or something like that.
Yeah, they're not super expensive, and I wonder what all I could do with it, right?
How about foot pedals?
I've played with foot pedals. Yeah, not worth it for me.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good for intimidating your coworkers. That's about it, I think. Yeah, just makes you look like a crazy person. But I also don't have any you know, like RSI trouble or anything. It might be useful if you did.
I think I would use the corded keyboard for like I would still use my normal keyboard, but I would have my i3 bindings on those. So.
Yeah, I think it would be supplemental. Yeah.
Does anyone over here uses Tmux along with Emacs?
Yes.
How do you deal with those windows which like Emacs shows up and then you have the Tmux? Sorry, the frames.
Not too much. Again, I use it in the terminal. You're talking about terminal use, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't usually get in the way. Well, one thing you have to do is change the control A leader for Tmux to anything else, because you can't use control A otherwise. Control Z. Yeah. Well, other than that, it doesn't really get in the way.
A lot of window managers support arrays or run. So even if you're using the graphical environment, you can bind some key to just take you directly to the application, or if the application is not open. Oh yeah, like a DWM.
Oh, okay.
The one I use is Stump WM.
Okay.
So especially for from an Emacs background, that gives you something that's in your flavor of Lisp. I think the one I use is a Steel Bank Common Lisp to compile it. Yeah, it's very Emacs-like scriptable.
Speaking of Emacs window managers, does anyone use EXWM? I haven't, so
I have not.
Curious about it.
What's it called?
I showed it off here last month. It's been kind of an interesting project, but I actually don't use that many windows. You know, it's like Emacs and maybe a browser, and that's it. So I found rat poison just as simple for me, and it was a little easier to get the line versus car mode that you kind of have to do, kind of like in term mode. I don't know, if you're kind of a heavy X window person, that might be a nice option for you. But I found if I'm only running 2 things and just switching between them, it was, I kind of figured rat poison was easy enough for me and simple enough. But it is kind of cool to run Firefox within an Emacs browser buffer, yeah.
Just got into tiling window managers because of you. The last time we met, yeah, we talked about i3 and like I installed i3 after that.
They're pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
It's right. Does anyone have any other topics?
So what do people do for remote file editing on like various machines, and also depending how heavily? I personally use Tramp, and unfortunately I'm kind of stuck on Windows, and I'm using Windows built to Emacs, which I read has some file system I/O latency problems, particularly with Tramp. And like the problem is like my machines sometimes have old versions of Emacs or no Emacs, and I don't want to configuring everything. People have recommendations for better ways of dealing with remote editing.
Tramp work. The Tramp is, I use it all the time.
Yeah, doesn't Tramp use the underlying OS's SSH?
Yes.
So on Windows, that would be kind of problematic, huh?
I use putty's binaries.
libSSH.
Does it work okay with those?
It does. It works reasonably well.
Doesn't Tramp also do SMB?
Tramp does SMB. You can also, I can't remember what the Android
Probably work out pretty well on Windows then.
not until
Server.
It works over FTP too.
Yeah, and FTP. Probably Gopher.
Have you tried it inside a virtual machine?
It's what people have recommended to me. I don't have the option.
So do you control the server?
Sorry?
Do you control the server where you want to edit? Like, can you install software on there?
Limited capacity too. It has to be approved packages. So.
Because
what do you recommend?
For such cases, I usually use X2Go. Like if I don't want to install a virtual machine, then I install the X2Go server on the remote machine and use the X2Go client, which is basically like VNCA, but uses SSH and is faster.
Oh, okay.
It's like really, really fast as compared to VNCA. I really like X2Go.
Latency is good with that?
Yeah, I mean, right now I can access my home machines using X2Go from here, and it feels pretty snappy.
Through VNC, I never like the...
No, not VNC, X2Go. You should try that. It's X, the digit 2, and Go, X2Go.
Thank you.
I've never heard of that. That sounds pretty good.
It's really good. Right. And the client is really, really lightweight. You can access. Let me see if I can access my X2Go server from here. I might be able to show that. Thanks. All right, hold on, let me.
Whose keyboard are we listening to?
Would be either Jonathan or no, Jonathan.
Not here, we're all quiet.
All right, let me start sharing. Let's see if I can actually share this. All right, I'll share my desktop. Let's see if it. Okay.
Sweet wallpaper.
Here. So this is X2Go. I mean, it's not as jittery as it's showing on the video. I'm accessing my remote machine. It's about 5 miles from here. But if you see, I can. It's really not jittery. Like I can show it to you here. See. So this is my remote machine. I can access it fine.
Oh,
so it's
okay,
perfectly
thanks.
fine. Media. Yeah, and I can open the terminal and it's actually something happened.
Yeah. Crashed. Cool.
I'm not sure. Right, I'll have to stop share.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
remote people get the idea. I can show it to you. Yeah. Oh, I triggered the shortcut to log out. Sorry.
Well, do we have any more topics today?
I think so, unless someone else has them. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the fun. Thanks for letting us crash your party.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thanks very much to Howard and Gaurav for setting this up.
Some people were talking about the relative line numbers.
Uh-huh.
So
Can you hear Jonathan okay?
Yep.
I think. So I used to use relative line number mode, and when 26.1 came out, they rewrote it all, and it's now native C code, and it's a display line numbers mode. So I don't know if that's what that version of Spacemacs was using, or if it was using a relative line numbers mode that you got.
And then
This
you
one
customize
built in.
it with that variable in front.
Yeah, and so there are like 3 different modes for turning this on, and one of it's absolute, one's relative, and I can't remember what the third one is.
So it's not running. Turn it on. Let's see it work.
Relative mode. No, it's not.
Looks like it's nice and fast.
So that was one of the complaints, and why they did it is to speed it up and make it for just the section that you were looking at, as opposed to numbering the entire buffer.
Right. Yeah. Good.
And another thing that I did recently, or that I found recently, that I was having a devil of a time with ediff, and or just diffing 2 buffers, and I finally just had to give up and kind of go manual. And so one of the things that I found was let's see, it's scroll all mode. And basically what that does is it must have just turned it off. Okay, so there we go. So now if I have 2 side-by-side buffers, if I just use the keyboard, it just scrolls everything in sequence. And there's, on the website I found this on, there's a little hack for making your mouse work if you want to scroll with the mouse, because if you scroll with the mouse, it doesn't keep pace. So that's one little problem with it. And another thing, when I was looking for this, that I just kind of stumbled on the Emacs wiki, was follow mode. And what that does, let's see, did I just turn that off? Okay, so now if I come over to here and change to that, so now what I have is the left side is the top portion of the buffer or the file, and the right side is the next page down. And so you can get a few more extra lines of visibility of your code or whatever it is you're working on. And I don't know whether I like this or not. I've been trying to use it for some of my files, and I find myself a little distracted trying to figure out whether I want to be on the left side or the right side with my active buffer. But for certain operations, it's still kind of a nice thing to use.
With choices come great responsibility.
Just a quick note. How many people are from San Francisco? They have to go back, both of you. Next train is at 9:05.
Yes.
And after that, it's 10:05.
Well, that sounds like a good.
Big step function.
Yes, sounds like a good place to break. Well, hey, thanks again. It's been fun.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Howard.
All right, we'll talk to you all later.